back, listeners, to the Mindful Journey podcast with your host, Sana. Now, have you ever caught yourself slouching at your desk or hunching over your phone for hours? Now, what if I told you, listeners, that the way you sit, you stand, and move every day might be silently affecting your mood, your digestion, your energy, even your self confidence? Well, today in this episode of the Mindful Journey, we are going to dive into a topic we often overlook: posture. Not in a sit up straight kind of way, but through the lens of healing, alignment, and whole body wellness. My listeners, joining me is someone who has been helping people realign their bodies and their lives for nearly 30 years. Listeners, meet my guest, Dr. Edward Esposito. He is a seasoned chiropractor, founder of Miami Chiropractic LLC, and also a leader in postural correction, scoliosis treatment, and also integrative sports therapy. And he's here to break down for us what posture really says about us and how small shifts might just unlock a whole new level of well-being for us. So let's quickly get into it. So, Dr. Edward, thank you so much for joining our show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Yep. Just one correction, almost 30 years.
Okay.
We got
Love it.
Great.
I wish it was
Okay,
only
so
10 years.
oh, okay.
Anyway.
Dr. Ed, let's start with the basics first. So when our posture is poor, I mean, this question is now more than relevant in this modern day and age. What's really happening in the body? Why do you think poor posture is more than a cosmetic issue?
More than a cosmetic, you said? It's definitely a cosmetic, but why is it
Mhm.
more? Yeah, yeah. It's definitely cosmetic for sure. But what people don't realize is that the nervous system controls everything. And so your spine is made up of hard bone that protects the delicate soft tissue and nerves underneath. So anytime, so for example, I see this a lot where the women have a hump here and they're bent over there. Well, that's going to affect the nerves. The nerves not only go to the muscles, but
Mhm.
they go to the organs. So, for example, the thyroid, and that might affect the chemistry and the signaling to the thyroid gland. Or
Mm.
if you have poor lower back posture, which is very, very common in the gymnasts and the people that do ballet, because they all
Mhm.
pounding, so their hips might get shifted. And so now that poor alignment in the low back, it'll affect the nerves that go to the ovaries and uterus, and that can cause female hormone problems, and that can cause a heavier bleeding or an inability to get pregnant. So
Wow.
in my 29 years of practice, I probably had at least 10 patients that were going through fertility treatments, couldn't get pregnant, and wind up getting adjusted, and those nerves work better to their lower back and to their internal organs, that they became pregnant. So it has a profound effect on your entire body. I see where people are very rounded in their mid back, and that could put a lot of under stress to the nerves that go to the heart and lungs and cause asthma
Mm.
and high blood pressure. So yeah, there's definitely a connection between not just cosmetic, but the neurology inside as well.
Wow, I was not aware of that, Dr. Ed. And does it also affect things like digestion or mental health?
Yeah, same thing. Definitely digestion as well. I mean, obviously, if you're in chronic pain, it's going to affect serotonin levels, the chemical production in your body. It will definitely affect mood as well. Um, One of the things, it's funny, like you were doing your intro, and I'm like, wow, I'm slouched over right now. But, so one of the best things you could do, I tell all my patients, a lot of people have text neck now. So they're always like looking down like that. So
Mm.
anytime if you're at a computer and you could raise your monitor up a little bit where your head's a little bit in extension, that's better than always looking down. That's going to take a lot of stress off the neck. So the things like
Mm.
that, I see the women. When they hold their babies, I can almost predict which hip they hold their baby on, because then their hip is
Mhm.
crooked. So you have to be mindful of, are you always doing something where you're holding a baby? My waiters are always carrying their trays with one side, so when they come in, they're all rotated to the right. And so I can just keep on manipulating and pushing, but I have to teach them, hey, this is something that you have to be mindful of. So maybe you could just start with your left hand and serving some drinks, obviously not martinis, but like rocks drinks and stuff like that, and start getting used to switching sides. So these are all the things that you could be mindful of, because really the repetitive micro trauma has an effect on the posture as well, which people don't really, they think, oh, I'm just going to do exercises, posterior chain exercises, build my glutes, keep me more upright. Yeah, you have to do that. But you have to be mindful of what your body positions are.
Hmm. That's a good one. That's a good one, Doctor. And very, very useful. And we often see, right now we are seeing standing desks in offices and even in the work from home settings that people are standing and working. So, do you think that's a good alternative to, just sitting down and bending your head down and looking at your monitor?
Yeah, it could definitely help as well. I like that. Obviously, maybe you can't stand all day, but again, if you're going to be at a standing desk, you don't want to be looking down, right? So you kind of want to be squared up and looking almost up a little bit in extension. So I do like the standing desks. It is a common thing I saw early in my practice. Cycling is really big now, bicycle cycling. And so early in my career, I had a patient that would do it like 2 hours a day. A guy was in phenomenal shape, and his hips would never hold alignment in his sacrum. And because he had chronically tight hip flexors, because he was sitting for so many hours. So people do need to be mindful of doing hip flexor stretches as well as the standing desk. So these are all kind of things you could do to combat sitting for hours. But yeah, I do think the long and short of it is standing desks are good.
Hmm. And Dr. Ed, your work blends spinal care, technology, and even dry needling. If you can share with us a real world example of someone who has experienced a transformation through postural connect correction,
So through what was the last thing you said? Through what?
through postural correction.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a lot of stories. I will say, like in the last 5 years, the technologies have exploded. Absolutely. So let's see.
Hmm.
This off there. Let's turn the way.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm good. The technologies have absolutely exploded. So things that I couldn't fix 5 years ago, we could fix now. So, for example, patients would have, and I'll get back to the posture question, but patients would have neuropathy in their hands or their feet. About 60% of the population over 70 have it for no reason. So we have a brand new technology that uses electric stim. It's a
Hmm.
$1,000 machine, and it helps to awaken dormant sensory nerves. And we find that within 2 or 3 months of doing it at home, that
Hmm.
neuropathy can go away, whereas the alternative is the patient takes, gabapentin, an anti-seizure medication, the rest of their life, and it's a regressive degenerative disease, it's not gonna get better. So something like that's been amazing. Shockwave therapy uses sound waves. It's based on German technology where they would break up kidney stones. It uses a mechanical force that transfers into sound waves, and it breaks up the scar tissue. So patients now, everybody does pickle and paddleball. They get wrist flexor problems. They get pulled tendons and calf strains and plantar fasciitis. In 3 or 4 visits, the shockwave treatment fixes them. I've never seen anything like it. And then the dry needling you'll have a really tight bound muscle, and you could what happens is the needle can actually help produce chemicals in that area to accelerate healing. Um,
Hmm.
but I mean, I've just seen so many things that weren't getting better get better now with all the newest technologies. Red light therapy helps increase oxygenation into the cell. I've been playing
Mm.
red light therapy for about 15 years. I had cancer 16 years ago, and I healed myself through natural ways. And that's we started we started doing biohacking before it became very famous. Before Joe Rogan started talking about it a couple of years ago, chiropractors have been doing infrared sauna, red light therapy, hyperbaric chambers, all those types of things for the last 15 years. So, the people a lot of times, like, the crazy thing is that, especially here in America, I don't know where you are, but they have an ache or pain or strain, and their medical doctor is their god. And it takes them weeks and months to see their doctor. And then the doctor waits weeks and months to do an MRI. And then it takes weeks and months. It's crazy. You
Yeah.
go to a chiropractor, I work on you 4 visits. Majority of people are much better within 4 visits. If they're not, then we get an X-ray, then we get an MRI, then we talk about PRP or stem cell injections. It's very fast tracked, it's very specific, and it's very objectively measured. Whereas, like, typically people, like, completely lost when it comes to,
Mhm.
like, physical medicine and rehab. Like, I gotta go to more. I have patients all the time. You need surgery. I'm like, surgery? We do some chiropractic treatment, some exercise that you do at home. There's no way you're gonna need surgery, you know? But it's just
Yeah.
it's,
And I completely agree with you, Dr. Ed. And it I mean, could be a systemic issue, or let's not talk about that, but it can be a separate discussion of its own. However, I think the good old saying prevention is better than cure. So I think it definitely needs a lot of awareness um, at the ground level. And I absolutely appreciate that you were aware about the technologies that are now becoming trending. People are getting to know about the benefits. For example, red light therapy. I have had so many conversations about around red light therapy when there are people who are actually taking it global across different countries. So with the prevention, I also want to ask you, Dr. Ed, that how can postural awareness reduce the risk of chronic diseases or issues, like which you mentioned in the beginning, like back pain or herniated discs?
yeah. I'll give you, like, one of the things that I see all the time. So, patients 60 years old, 50 years old, they have, say, their right knee has degeneration, or their right foot has a bunion, which is an effect of what's called Wolff's Law. The more weight you put on a bone, the body will build more bone. So, a person, again, going back to right knee degeneration, right foot bunion, they might go to their doctor and they'll say, well, it's your age. Okay, well, how old is the left knee and how old is the left foot? It's not an age related thing, it's mechanical tension or poor posture. So, if your hips are out of alignment, you're going to put more weight on this side. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, pressure over time, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that right knee is going to start to collapse or degenerate. That right foot is going to get more stress on it, and it'll probably build more bone. It'll cause a bunion. Or you might get plantar fasciitis or tightness on the under part of your foot. A lot of that times that's probably postural or poor mechanics. So that is something that's very common. So a chiropractor, a really good one, is going to look at you from your toe. They say head to toe, but really we look from the toes up to the knee, to the hip, to the thoracic spine, the shoulders. I've seen it in my baseball players, where I used to be a protein chiropractor. My son's a professional pitcher, by the way. Um,
Wow.
the kid, say a person's spine was tilted more to the right, they might have right low back pain. So even though the problem here's their back,
Mm-hmm.
thoracic spine is shifted, it's going to put more weight on the low back and put more compression and lead to disc herniations, disc compression, canal stenosis. So you have to fix the thoracic spine as well. and that's going to affect how they spin and how they hit and how they perform. So, really good chiropractor or physical therapist will look at you from the ground up and figure out. I mean, I love when patients come in, they go, I have plantar fasciitis, which is a tightening of the fibers in the foot. I'm like, don't tell me which one. Let me check you out first. And they you're like, yeah, it's my right. I'm like, oh, don't tell me.
It's more like a, you do a visual diagnosis first.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, let me just see what's going on here. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome, Dr. Ed. And going back to the technologies, as you also mentioned that you battled with cancer 16 years ago. Um, uh, Before this podcast, we were just talking about it. So I'm really, really curious to know that stem cell creams, they're something which are becoming quite relevant, popular in both cosmetic and therapeutic spaces.
Yeah.
um, so you are also into this. So if you would like to share something with our listeners, from your professional perspective, is there any real benefit to using stem cell creams, let's say for skin repair or resolving aging issues or, musculoskeletal issues?
So, my best friend, he's been down here in Miami. I moved with COVID from New York
Mhm,
City area to Miami 4 years ago, and
mhm,
really some of the most fit patients I've ever worked on. As these people are so mindful. Who's doing CrossFit? Who's a former pro athlete? Who's a former college athlete? Who's playing pickle and paddle 4 days a week? I mean, I was always in much better shape than my patients in the New York area, and now I'm in okay shape compared to my patients. I mean, and I'm not bad for 52, but
Yeah, I.
they're some of the most fit people I've ever seen. And 10 years ago, my buddy that I'm working with now here in Miami, they were doing stem cell. They were doing stem cell injections. And he's like, we're seeing changes on MRIs where the patient had a torn meniscus. And then the 6 month repeat MRI, the radiologist is writing, we see no signs of a tear and we don't
Mhm,
see where the patient had surgery because they didn't. And so I've seen, and I was like, he was telling me this 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. So now, fast forward, I started working with him 4 years ago. And so for the last
mhm,
4 years, again, I do consults all the time. And like people are like, I need an MRI right away. I need to see an orthopedic doctor. I'm like, yo, pump the brakes. It's not how it works. This is how it works. You go to a good physical medicine doctor. I tell patients in 4 visits, if you're not 50% better, we have to get an MRI. Then we get the MRI. All right, let's maybe explore PRP injections, which is your blood protein. They basically take out the immune cells and they spin it and centrifuge it and get concentrated growth factors. So I've been working with PRP injections and stem cell injections for the last 4 years now. Fortunately, mm, maybe 5% of the people need that. 95% don't need that. Just traditional chiropractic, shockwave, the nerve rebuilder machine that I have, the infrared light, all those things kind of fix it. Maybe orthotics if they have flat feet. Most of
mhm,
the time, they don't need PRP or stem cells. But when they do really well. Now, PRP injections, I've seen really good for calf strains, for Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis. The stem cell
mhm,
injections I see work really well for the shoulder and almost bone on bone in the knee. I've actually seen it increase the heights of the knee. So about 5 months ago, 4 months ago, I was at a seminar and I met a chiropractor and he has a client that's a very, very high profile NFL quarterback, potentially the best quarterback in history here in Florida. you could kind of figure out who it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they were using stem cell cream because some patients, what they do, so in America, you could take stem cells from your bone marrow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You process it. The only problem with that is if you're 50, 60 years old, you don't have as many growth factors in your bone marrow and your stem cells are not as virulent as, say, a placental and umbilical cell. So a lot of people go down to South America because it's unregulated down there, and they take the placenta and umbilical cells from newborn babies, the mother, and they inject it into that site, and they spend 10, 20, $30,000 in South America. So what we
Mm-hmm.
have here is this stem cell cream is made from the healthy births of the placenta cells and umbilical cells. It gets processed in the lab, tested for no diseases, and they use lipid nanoparticles. And people don't realize that your skin is the largest eliminator and
Yep.
absorber of your body. So what we found is what I did about 4 months ago. I took my worst patients that were not responding. They didn't hit the
Okay.
50% mark with chiropractic shockwave and all the stuff that I do. So I said, hey, we're out of options here. You could do an injection or you could try the cream. It's the fraction of the cost. So I had
Mm-hmm.
20 patients say, I want to do the cream. One was a guy. Did you ever see you might be too young because I saw you, but did you ever hear of P90X?
I'm afraid no, but
Okay.
good.
So 15 years ago, the home video industry exploded. And everybody
Mm-hmm.
was like Jane Fonda started it in a
Yeah.
rudimentary way, and then P90X took it and went took
Oh, God.
and all people were working out for 45 minutes, 6 days a week, and the chubby fat guy is now completely shredded and ripped. So this thing like took off. All my patients, and that was the birth of all the CrossFit. All my patients that do CrossFit, everyone gets hurt because you cannot train hard every day. My son's a
Yeah.
professional pitcher. He's a reliever. He got hurt when he played in college because he throws 95 miles per hour. The coach pitched him on Monday. He brought him back Tuesday. You don't do that. Your body has to go hard, less hard, hard, less hard. It needs to recover. A lot of people get hurt
Mhm.
doing the
Yeah.
CrossFit. It's hard, 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 hard. Can't work out every day hard. Even the NFL guys now, they change their training. They say, oh, you're not a tough guy. Everybody's getting hurt. So this guy, one of the guys that did it was a cast member for P90X. 20 years
Yeah.
later, he's my patient now. He's 62 years old. He looks phenomenal. He's shredded everywhere, but everything's broken down. So we did the stem cell cream. He put it on his back, he put it on his knees. He did phenomenal. Patients with non-complete tears in their shoulder. My girlfriend's father, if you ever come to Miami, they have the cruise
Mhm.
ships that come out of government cut. It's very rocky water. A lot of people die in that water. And so he was
Mhm.
a fireboat captain in that water for all these years, basically, riding this fireboat. Massive arthritis in his shoulders. 1 week of using the cream, 80% better. He had no other options. Lifetime of anti-inflammatories, Advil, aspirin, steroid, degenerating shots. So I've seen some amazing things with the cream.
Wow.
Mhm.
And are there any specific ingredients or sources, like, for example, plant derived or versus animal derived stem cells?
Well,
Is
it's
that
made
good?
it's derived from the
Mhm.
placental and umbilical cells of healthy babies, specifically C-section babies, because I guess there's less disruption when they take out the stuff, take out the organs. Yeah, but you could use it like I use it. So my back was really messed up because I fell off a ladder 20 years ago, and I use it on my back 4 months ago, and it's doing phenomenal. But I actually use it on my crow's feet in my face
Oh, okay.
right now. You just don't want to get it in your eye. Could burn a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So I tell my patients after you use it, go wash your hands because sometimes I touch their head and they're like, ah. But yeah, you could use it on your
Mm.
skin too. and your hair. But I usually it's really more for physical medicine and rehab. Uh,
Mm,
knee, bone on bone knee, arthritic
mm,
height. You lose it. So in between your bones is cartilage. You see a loss in this height. You could see some of it come back. We do what's called flexion extension X-rays. So patients get into a car accident and the ligaments hold the bones in place, and we'll see when they do a flexion study, the bone
right.
will flop because the ligament's weak. And then after a month of using this and shockwave, I've seen where I've done a repeat flexion study where there's no break in that ligament anymore. It'll strengthen the ligaments.
Mm,
Everything's objective. Like it's not just, oh, I feel better. We'll do a repeat MRI. We'll do a repeat X-ray. MRI will show the cartilage, the integrity of
mhm.
cartilage. X-ray could show how much height is in the cartilage, and it could also show if there's any breaks in the ligaments because the bones will flop.
Got it. Got it. And now, before Dr. Ed, we wrap up this conversation, I think let's leave our listeners with some, you know, good old advices or some practical, things that they can do or start doing today to improve posture without even needing any doctor visits or weekly appointments.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and you would need weekly appointments anyway with a chiropractor. I mean, once you get fixed, it's
Mhm.
up to your maintenance. It's not, especially if you're doing what you're supposed to do. But to be healthy, the easiest things you could do is obviously eat a lot of protein and vegetables. Number one, my mother died from diabetes at 59, so you definitely want to limit your refined carbohydrates. I tell my patients, I have 5 sons, it used to take me a half hour to go food shopping because I would stay on the perimeter of the grocery store, and the interior is the rat maze where all your boxed, processed, refined, dead food is. So,
Mm,
you wanna be dead, eat dead food. So, stay in the perimeter when you go shopping. You definitely
mhm,
want to do some detoxing, infrared sauna, steam rooms, um, coffee colonics. You could take different things like milk thistle or activated charcoal a couple of times a year to flush out your system. Make sure that you're digesting your food well. You don't have any gas or bloating or indigestion. Look into
mm,
food enzymes that will help with digestion. It'll limit heartburn. It'll help your body absorb, assimilate, and eliminate whatever you're taking in. Definitely cardio 3 days a week, 20, 25 minutes, get that heart rate up. A little light exercise. I used to be a lot bigger. I used to lift a lot more weight, but now at 52, I kind of crave more walking,
mm.
1,000 steps a day. As soon as I get done with you, I'm going to probably hit the elliptical for 25 minutes, get a nice sweat going. And so, just some simple things.
Absolutely. Balanced and mindful things.
Hmm.
And Dr. Ed, finally, before we wrap up, if our listeners they would like to connect with you and also get a hold of to explore more about the techniques that you provide in postural correction and about the stem cell cream as well, what will be the best way?
Yeah, just hit me at miamichiropractic.us. I don't know if you're going to have a link there, but you could ask me any question you want. I have people that hit me up on Twitter all the time, on Instagram, on WhatsApp. Hey, I'm doing this for treatment. What do you think? What's your experience? I don't mind telling you. I hear the most crazy stories. It's like some of the simplest things. I'm like, what are you guys waiting for? Like, why are you waiting to get an orthopedic appointment for 4 weeks? What, like, what's going on here? Like, you know? So, with 29, almost 30 years experience, I could help streamline things for you. So if you have a question, I'll tell you what my experience is with it. And if I don't know, I'll research it. Things that I could sell to you are the stem cell cream. I'm one of 2 doctors in the state of Florida that sell that. Um,
Mm.
I had somebody text me last night at 1 o'clock in the morning. Hey, do you think this
Oh,
would work for me? I'm like, I don't even know what your condition is. And then he got back to me and I said, yeah, you would be a good candidate. So I would tell you straight up, I think it's going to work, or I don't think it's going to work. But I'd work with stem cell PRP injections now for 4 years. So I have a really good idea of what kind of response to it.
Hmm. Well, we'll be sharing all the links in the show notes for our listeners. And Dr. Ed, thank you. I mean, this is such a foundational aspect of our living, and also neglected and kind of forgotten. But I think you have really reminded us in a very simple and good way that healing can start with something as foundational as posture correction. So thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Bla.
Have a great day. Thank you.
And to all the listeners out there, maybe today just notice how you are sitting, how you are breathing, how your spine is holding you. Maybe posture isn't just physical, it is definitely a reflection of how we are holding ourselves through life. Until next time, keep walking your mindful journey, and to connect with Dr. Red, just drop into the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. Until then, I'm your host Sana signing off. Thank you.